This is the ACC Network as we welcome you to Maples Pavilion for a pivotal ACC clash on the penultimate weekend of the regular season. It's the SMU Mustangs taking on the Stanford Cardinal, and it is senior day on the farm. Well, 15 days from Selection Sunday, Duke stakes claim to the top spot in the ACC standings. SMU sitting in 4th place, and Stanford just a game back in the loss column from pulling even with Wake Forest and North Carolina. We have made it to March. It is great to have you with us alongside the coach, Ben Braun. I'm Chris Sylvester. SMU finds itself firmly on the bubble 15 days from Selection Sunday. This is a quad 2 opportunity this afternoon against a Stanford team that's lost twice all year here at home.
Well, great opportunity if you're SMU. You've played well on the road, so you want to continue your winning ways. However, you've got to go up against a Stanford team that's awfully good at home.
Joe Lunardi right now has SMU as a next 4-out team in his latest bracketology projections. Ponies won Wednesday night in Berkeley against the California Golden Bears, and trying to sweep Stanford, a team they beat handedly in Dallas last month. Obviously, the lack of a quad 1 win is working against SMU, but they've been terrific on the road in conference play, 7-1. They'll close with 2 away from home the final 3 games of the regular season.
Well, that's true, but now they're going to have to go up against Maxime Reynaud on senior day, and he's been playing just, he's been on fire all season long, but coming off some big games. And what's not to like about Maxime Reynaud, Chris, he just plays with either hand, and if you don't like that he scores inside and you want to push him to the perimeter, he'll do that. And if you press him on the perimeter, he'll get to the rim and throw down slams. He's just an all-purpose player. And what else does he do? He rebounds double figures a game. He does it all.
Now, he is Mr. Double-Double around these parts. Just set the single-season program record with 21 double-doubles this year. He's gotten better each season here on the farm, and is tied for the most double-doubles in college basketball. He's the top rebounder in the ACC and sits second in scoring.
No, he's done, as you said, he's done it all. But what I like about him, and the pro scouts are here, I've talked about 2-3 different NBA scouts today. What they like about him, Chris, is that he has gotten better. He's improved, and they still think his best years are ahead of him. So when you're in the NBA, you get drafted a lot of times on your potential. And guess what? He's got big-time potential.
Reynaud trying to close a storied Stanford career with one more victory in Maples Pavilion, where the Cardinals sit at 15-2 this year. 7-2 Samet Yigitolu. And we will retry our opening tap here. Ron Groover, Justin Porterfield, Kellen Milner, your officials, as we play afternoon hoops in the ACC out west. The month of March commences here in Maples Pavilion with the Mustangs and the Cardinal. SMU put 81 on Cal Wednesday night up in Berkeley, the second best scoring offense in the ACC, as Matt Cross dials it up from deep and lifts the lid off the scoring.
Well, this is a confident team. You want to look at a team that plays with confidence. SMU is one of them.
Reynaud and Blake's, 2 of the 3 seniors that were honored pregame, highlight the starting 5 for Stanford. Reynaud flashes the leather. Now backs in Yigitolu.
Well, he shows you how versatile he is. He can score from 3, so you crowd him, make him put it down, and he gets to the rim. Just does a great job of taking what the defense gives him.
SMU again without their leading scorer, Boopy Miller, who continues to miss time with the foot injury. The hope is to get him back for the regular season home finale against Syracuse next week. But SMU, despite Miller's absence, they still have 5 guys active that average double figures.
Yeah, it's nice to have that kind of backup and support, Chris.
SMU and Stanford, both first-year members of the ACC. Stanford coming from the old Pac-12. SMU coming from the American Conference. Chuck Harris takes it down the lane, sweeps it across, and the extra pass to the floor as time dwindles on the shot clock, and the possession arrow points the way of the Cardinal.
Well, that's a very good possession defensively for the Cardinal. They did a nice job of staying grounded, staying disciplined, and as you mentioned, they're playing against a team that averages double figures each guy, so they really have to be good at not trying to stop one player, but playing solid team defense.
SMU has won 6 straight away from Dallas. 7-1 in the ACC in true road games. Very impressive what they've been able to do under their first-year head coach, Andy Enfield. As Reno gets slipped up, it pops out, but he's headed to the free throw line.
Well, watch again, Maxime Reynaud, the Mariota moves. He's got you now. You get a bump and he spins off to the baseline. No help baseline side, so he's forced to foul. But you kind of want to help and push your defender, push your opponent to the middle where you got a little more help. But Maxime was clever and got to the baseline side, and now he's getting rewarded. He's got 2 free throws.
Near 80% on the season from the free throw line. Kyle Smith, his first-year head coach, talks so highly of Maxime Reynaud, not only as a basketball player, but calls him the most talented human being he's ever been around. A computer science major, math minor. And he's got the first 4 for the Cardinal on senior day. Mid-post, Yigatolu draws 2. Edwards floats it. Turkey denied inside by Reynaud. Sellers off the heel. And taken by SMU. Welcome to ACC basketball on the West Coast from Maples Pavilion. It's the SMU Mustangs and Stanford Cardinal. Matt Cross knocking down his second three-pointer of the opening minutes with Coach Ben Braun, Chris Sylvester, our entire crew. SMU, they find themselves on the bubble. This is a quad 2 opportunity for the Mustangs against the Stanford team that's 15-2 in this building.
Well, huge opportunity for SMU if they can get it done. I don't think Isaiah Sellers cares much about the SMU's opportunities now. That's a big-time move by Sellers on the opposite end.
Sellers, who played under SMU head coach Andy Enfield the last 2 years down at USC. Reynaud, the ball fake and the finish off the glass. And a timeout.
Yeah, good timeout by Andy Enfield. He wants to stop the momentum.
All right, we'll step aside. 2-point lead early for Stanford on the ACC network.
Injured player, not a timeout, as it turns out. So quick stoppage of play, we're back.
Harris steps into the elbow jump shot, and it's taken by Jalen Blakes.
Yeah, great challenge by Maxime Reynaud using his 7-foot frame to challenge that shot.
Chisholm Akpara off the Stanford bench loses the handle, and Harris in transition lays it in.
Well, if you're Stanford, you've got to get it back in numbers. SMU will really push the ball in transition, 80+ a game, and a lot of those come off of defensive rebounds, turnovers, and transition baskets.
SMU without its leading scorer. Maxime Reynaud rips the cords from deep.
It's senior day. Don't think he doesn't know that. His parents in here from France, and he's putting on a 3-point exhibition already.
He's got 9 of the first 11 Stanford points on a perfect 3 for 3 from the field. Matt Cross, the veteran 24-year-old senior, with a sweeping hook off the window and in.
Well, he's been good early. He's 3 for 3, and he's been on fire. 2 knockdown shots and a tough shot over Jalen Blakes, who's a very good defender.
Cross transferred in from UMass, first team All A-10 last season with the Minutemen. And it's a return to the ACC for Cross, who had been with Louisville and Miami previously. Akpara backs him in on this end. Shot clock into single digits. Jalen Blakes, the Duke transfer, has it knocked away. Another steal for SMU.
Well, nice job by SMU. They've been very active with their hands. They're a much improved defensive team under Andy Enfield.
Just outside the top 40 of the net at the start of the day around college basketball. Other bubble teams have already had some poor showings here on the first day of March. Oquendo, that's a deep one, and he comes up short.
Nice challenge by Agrawal. Stanford doing a good job at challenging early. You have to, because SMU can shoot it.
Cardinal have opened 4 of 6 on this end. Sellers off the side of the backboard. SMU beat Stanford 85-61 exactly 1 month ago in Moody Coliseum back home in Dallas. B.J. Edwards. And a foul on the floor before the attempt will officially take us to our first timeout of the afternoon.
Well, you gotta like Maxime Reynaud. He can find ways to score, but if you don't guard him, he'll cue it up from 3, and he knows what to do.
Final home game of the regular season for the Stanford Cardinal, and the 3 seniors, Jalen Blakes, Maxime Reynaud, Cole Kastner, were honored before tip-off here at Maples Pavilion this afternoon. And you coached college basketball more than 30 years. You've been a part of a ton of these. What emotions come out for these guys in their final game in their home buildings?
Well, there's so many. I mean, you talk about Maxime Reynaud. He's had such a good year. You look at the numbers now. His parents are there. I mean, he's playing through tears. I got to tell you, I've coached a number of players, and those tears didn't dry up, Chris, until you well into the game, because you're excited. Your family's there. You want to, they've given you so much, and you want to repay what they've done for you, and it's an emotional day. So Maxime Reynaud already 9 points. So far, he's handling it pretty well.
Well, Stanford takes it away from Matt Cross out of the timeout. Agarwal keeps it alive, and Reynaud skips it in for Chisholm Okpara. And it rolls off. Jarrell Colbert, K-State transfer, is checked in for SMU, along with Tibet Goriner, the sharpshooter who played the last 3 seasons about 20 minutes from here at San Jose State.
I like the activity. Both teams really scrapping defensively. But, if you want to win these kinds of games, it's not just going to be who can outscore somebody. You've got to get some stops, Chris. And these teams are capable defensively. Both teams excellent on the defensive end.
Benny Gieler is also in for Stanford out of that first timeout. Chuck Harris takes him inside and flutters it in.
He's tough. He can do that one-on-one. You've got to get a little help there, but he can get in the paint and go over the top of you.
Harris matched his season high with 21 in Berkeley on Wednesday night. Reynaud has 9 of Stanford's first 11. And his first miss comes off the front rim to B.J. Edwards. Tibet Goriner catches and lays it in.
That's the second time that SMU scored in transition.
Ponies have strung together 6 straight points to go up 3 here on the road early. Ryan Agarwal knocks down the 3.
He can do that. He's a 3-point shooter. When he gets in rhythm, he's got great range.
His 34th tray of the season. With Stanford's second triple of this first half on their home floor. Hit 9 of them here on Wednesday night in a win over Boston College. Edwards. Out to Harris with the shot clock into single digits. Off balance jump shot. Almost banked it in. Tapped around. Comes back to Harris. And last touch by SMU.
You see how tough SMU is to the rim. Stanford caught a little bit of break there. The ball going out of bounds. But you've got to get a body on, and you've got to keep people in front of you. The hardest thing to do in college basketball is contain one-on-one. So you better be a pretty good help defensive team and stay grounded. Stanford now with Reynaud really getting off to a great start. Will try to play through him if possible.
Stanford has already won 4 more games this season than they did all of last year as Reynaud puts in the southpaw flip.
Well, that's the recipe for success. You put the ball in his hands, good things happen. You double, he's a great passer. You'll get 3-point opportunities. You don't double, he'll make you pay.
Second leading scorer in the ACC behind Marcus Burke of Notre Dame. Blakes throws it down on the fast break. Andy Enfield wants to talk things over. A senior day stamp for the Duke transfer.
Well, how about Maxime Reynaud? You put the ball in his hands, he'll drop you off at the street corner and score on you. But if you're Jalen Blakes, don't give him an opportunity. Highway robbery for 2.
Andy Enfield Enfield making his return to the ACC in year one with SMU. Longtime assistant under Leonard Hamilton, was part of a 2011 Sweet 16. Then as a head coach, he took Florida Gulf Coast. You remember Dunk City, right?
Yeah, Sweet 16 time. Everybody does. And the job he did at USC, look what he did there. But, you know, he helped turn that program around big time at USC during his time. He was one of the winningest programs in the Pac-12. In fact, they beat UCLA 12 times. That's no small task. And you talk to his assistant coaches and the staff, Kurt Karras, he says, you know, players love playing for him. He gives his players so much freedom. He builds trust, but he holds his guys accountable. That's why his teams have been successful at every stop.
And he firmly believes that this SMU team belongs in the NCAA tournament. Right now, Joe Lunardi has them as a next four out team, but still some time for the Mustangs to make some noise and add to the resume. Late in the clock here out of the Andy Enfield timeout. Chuck Harris has to launch off 1 foot, and the teardrop falls through.
Well, that's a tough make at the end of a really tough possession. Stanford defending well, but again, good timeout by Andy Enfield, settling his team down and then coming back and scoring two to narrow this game.
Chuck Harris in his second year at SMU after 3 years at Butler. Moreno, a slingshot three, and it's taken by Edwards. Well, Harris had his pocket picked. Numbers for the Cardinal. Aiden Kamen, big fella, sharing the floor with Maxime Reynaud. Akpara attacks. Corner pot for Benny Gaylor.
Well, that's a great look by Chisholm. Akpara losing his balance, but kept it enough to find one of their sharpshooters, Benny Gaylor, spotting up in the corner for three.
His 32nd tray of the season, the former walk-on, was held scoreless when these two teams met in Dallas last month. Edwards elevates. Igatolu had it for a moment. It is a reload here for SMU. One of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. Igatolu bends the rim.
Well, how about the assist? That's a big-time look over the top. You're trying to stop the penetration of the guard, and then you throw it to the rim. Good job.
7'2" freshman from Turkey has scored in double figures 10 of his last 11 games. Has really come on strong here down the stretch run of the ACC season. Reynaud takes him off the bounce and missed everything. Was trying to draw some contact there.
Well, he's
going to stay with Stanford.
Yeah, he thought he got some contact on it. But watch the look of Akpara, who is falling out of bounds, and he finds Benny Gaylor, who's a knockdown three-point shooter. And then obviously on the other end, you see over the top, tremendous contact, eye contact, and finish.
Harris sits for SMU. Maxime Reynaud will get his first breather for Stanford in the opening half. And Agarwal, juggling the inbound pass, turns it over.
Yeah, that's really good defense. If you're Stanford, though, you got to have some avenues out there. Not many guys open. Everybody running to the corner and running to the ball. Good job defensively by SMU, playing denial defense.
Two veterans have led the way on each side through this opening half. Igatolu, it rolls off. Big man slow to get back. Blake steps into a three. A.J. George, the outlet pass to cross. One more to B.J. Edwards, who is fouled by Jalen Blakes. And he's given a technical foul after the reaction to the whistle. Well, you don't have much leeway to show emotion after a foul call at this level.
No, even if it's senior day, I think he said, "Ref, it's senior day. Come on, I got to be a little emotional." But I think Jalen Blake's just got caught up in emotion. He's a tough competitor, but missed the shot, then didn't really quite get back in transition, and then he thought he went up clean with two hands. So officials didn't like the reaction.
Cario Oquendo, well-traveled senior from Titusville, Florida, taking the technical free throws. Jalen Blakes didn't play when Stanford visited SMU last month. They really missed him in that game.
Now he's too instrumental for them, Chris. But I think, Kyle Smith talking to the officials saying, look, let players get a little bit emotional. you're allowed a little bit of reaction. He thought he went up there with really good contact with the ball, which he did, but there was some body contact. But it was the demonstrative reaction that just was a bit too much to the officials. So play on, but tough break.
Kyle Smith has praised Jalen Blakes for bringing a winning culture to this Stanford program. Spent the last 3 years at Duke, was part of an Elite Eight team last year, Final Four team as a freshman.
He's done a great job. He was Pac-12 Coach of the Year, and he has won wherever he's been. Chris, he has won at Columbia. He's won at USF, San Francisco. I mean, he's won at Washington State. Now he's winning at Stanford. I mean, he's just like Andy Enfield, two of the top coaches you probably don't hear as much about, but they're great coaches, and he's been just really money everywhere he's been.
Akpara down the baseline, walled off by two defenders, finds Sellers. He missed everything. Already 5 ties and 5 lead changes this first half. Oquendo knocks down the 3.
Yeah, really nice job in transition. Good floor spacing. You always try to spot somebody up in the corner because that makes it tougher to defend, and they really rotated the basketball and got an easy look for 3.
That brings Cario Oquendo to 1,400 career points. Gieler, clean look. He cashes in.
Benny Gieler thinks it's senior day, I think, for junior day. I mean, he'll get it going. He can score, and when he's open, he's got a really nice look from 3.
Edwards can't answer back. Akpara claims the miss. Gieler has a chance to be an X factor for this Stanford team as they try to make some noise ahead of the ACC tournament. They were in the at-large discussion in early February before a tough stretch where they had lost 4 of 6. Now the net sits in the low 80s. Kamen backs in Yigatolu. Out to Akpara. And
yeah, nice look from Aiden Kamen out to his teammate. Really a much improved shooter. Chisholm Akpara is knocking down 4 threes like it's a regular activity.
Right, a season-high 15 Wednesday against BC. A.J. George on the drive. And altered at the rim.
Yeah, nice job by Chisholm Akpara. He was beat, but he never gave up in the play. He still managed to get a hand on the ball and block it.
Reno and Harris getting set to check back. Kamen into traffic, picked up by Cross. SMU on the move. Cross corkscrews and a finger roll. This track meet continues from the farm.
Now, neither team is showing any signs of slowing this game down. They both like to play in transition, play fast.
Both shooting north of 50% as Kamen scores off the window.
Good look by Ryan Agarwal. Nice drive, nice delivery, right to the rim.
Inside of 7 minutes to play in our opening half. Wraps it around. Yigatolu could not catch it. Here comes Sellers. Look out below. A two-hand finish. Another flush for Sellers. And another timeout, SMU. Stanford sizzling on senior day.
Well, sure are. And you got Matt Cross that's able to get to the basket, scoring almost double figures, but you've got on the other end Isaiah Sellers, who knows what to do with the dunk.
Well, coming up next, Cooper Flagg, number 2 Duke, hosts Florida State from Cameron Indoor. We'll have it for you following the conclusion of SMU and Stanford on the ACC network and the ESPN app. Senior day here on the farm, a lot of emotions. Some happy from Stanford this first half. Maxime Reynaud's parents making the near 6,000-mile trip from France to support him. There's Vanessa on the left-hand side of your screen, and Philippe, his father, on the right-hand side.
Yeah, well, they came down to say hi to us before the game. They're so thrilled because they normally watch their games back home at 3 in the morning, take nothing, watch it all live, but they're so happy to be here. But there were some tears in his mom's eyes, and as you asked me, Chris, that happens on senior day a lot.
Both teams shot it well early as Oquendo's floater won't go. Traore taps it skyward, and it's recovered by Sellers.
Yeah, nice job of Maxime Reynaud just getting up a little taller and keeping it off the glass and off and out of the SMU players' hands.
Cardinal have hit 12 of their first 21 attempts from the field. The double team comes at Reno. Agarwal's the open man, and it passes in.
Very unselfish play. Two guys rotating the basketball. Never stuck. Ball never stuck, Chris.
This is a 13-2 burst put together by the Cardinal. Cross off the bounce. And Reno somehow saved it in. Zeller skips it. Akpara wisely throws it off A.J. George.
Yeah, Stanford never really had possession that whole possession, but every time each player had to make a save, they knew how to throw it at least to a white player in a white jersey or off a player in a blue jersey. Nice job. As you can see, Akpara can't quite get the handle, but he said, I don't have anybody to throw it to, so I'm going to throw it off of a Mustang.
I actually think he was trying to get that to Ryan Agarwal.
No, I'm going to give him credit.
Okay.
Listen,
right.
we can agree to disagree, but I think he was initially. Yeah, you might be right.
Reno across the floor. It sets up Stellers, and that's shooting practice for the USC transfer.
Well, I know one thing. Reno did try to put that ball in his teammates' hands, and he knew what to do as well. Nice job of passing by Stanford.
Sellers admitted there would be a little extra juice going into this one against his former head coach, Andy Enfield. Spent the last 2 years with Enfield down in Southern California at USC.
Well, that happens in our game.
Lead is double figures for Stanford. Edwards has to hoist. Shot clock violation.
Now, Maxime Reno did a nice job, Chris. He just put his hands straight up. He didn't try to block the shot. You just try to go up and affect the shot. Very, very impressive. And that's what you do when you've got a guard that wants to get you off your feet. Just go up and challenge the shot. You don't need to block it. And with a short clock, he altered the shot. And I think he was applauded by Isaiah Sellers. Thought that was pretty good defense.
Akpara slashing inside, but dragging the pivot foot. Whistled for traveling.
Official. Little warning to the SMU bench, like, I got that call. I don't need any help from the peanut gallery. Been over there, Chris, many times, and sometimes had to quiet my assistants down. They get a little emotional, but you've already called one technical, so you don't want to be on the other team having the officials return the favor. So nice warning by the officials.
B.J. Edwards finds Matt Cross. Traore on the offensive glass, hit on the way back up. Johan Traore, also from France, 6'11" junior, third program in 3 years. Played under your old assistant Joe Pasternak at UC Santa Barbara last
Yes, he did.
season.
I remember him, but to see him, making his mark now, as you mentioned, players go on, they transfer sometimes, and they end up playing sometimes with their former head coach. That happens. It happened with Stanford and Andrei Stojakovic, having to face each other a couple of times. But in this game, players do transfer, and they get better. You like to see players get the opportunity, and I think coaches start out, if they recruited you, they want to see you successful. I don't think they want to see you successful against them, but I think they appreciate your ability to get better.
Traore has seen his minutes dwindle over the last month, has been battling a hip injury.
He's a big player. He's 6'11", 235. He shores up the interior for Andy Enfield, there's no question.
Stanford north of 60% from the floor this first half. Reno can't hit that one.
Yeah, it's good defense by SMU.
Harris, deep three. Off the heel, recovered by Gieler. Stanford playing this first half at an uptick in tempo.
Yeah, they're trying to take advantage. Obviously, if they're playing without Doopy Miller, they'd like to push the ball a little bit, playing without their floor general SMU is.
Late in the clock for the Cardinal. Kamen, nice inside, and lays it in.
How about that from the 6'11" forward, putting his shoulder down and getting an edge to the rim. Nice finish.
Like Kamen just might be the five-man of the future for Kyle Smith, redshirt freshman, 6'10" from Andover, Massachusetts. And Harris out of control. Whistle for traveler.
Yeah, good job by the official.
Stanford red hot on senior day from the farm. 60% from the field. And a 10-point first half lead over the SMU Mustangs. Taylor, thank you. SMU Stanford here on the farm. Late moments of the first half. Two veterans, Reno and Cross, in double figures, but Stanford has taken advantage of some SMU giveaways, and well, the bench has shown up for the Cardinal this first half at Maples.
No, they've done a great job. 13 points off the bench. You know, that's getting it done. That's production, and you know, you need that in an emotional game that's got a lot riding on it. Senior day, you just got to have guys step up, and they've done that.
Stanford has been very tough to beat in this building. 15-2 at home. Only one loss on their home floor in ACC play. Agarwal down to shoot for two.
Great finish by Ryan Agarwal to the rim. Split two defenders to get there.
Largest lead for Stanford. Cardinal go up by a dozen. How does SMU weather the storm these final 2.5 minutes?
Well, they've got to take their time, maybe get some fouls, get to the free throw line as well. But they're doing a good job right there, like they're getting into the paint and scoring. Just a good play. You're not going to knock down a lot of three-point shots, but get in the paint and pull up and hit the mid-range.
8 first half points now for Chuck Harris. Gaylor. Third opening half three, and that was from way outside.
That was from the Tara Vanderveer logo.
Cross can't answer back. Traore grabs a second effort. Igatolu. Harris works it. Edwards on a sidestep and a bullseye.
Great job, great patience by B.J. Edwards. The junior just did a nice job waiting for the defense to clear and knocked it down. Big basket for SMU.
Benny Gaylor with the big burst off the bench. 3 triples, 9 points for the former walk-on. Reno flashes it. Comes up short on the push shot, and Igatolu's fouled by Kamen.
Well, he's trying to plead to the officials that there was a little contact in the last play, but you know, you got to really like, if you're Stanford, that Benny Gaylor has now stepped up and just showing his marksmanship, his ability to stretch the floor. He makes things happen for his team when he can knock that shot down. He's a leader. He's really an improved player. Point guard, fills in for Jalen Blakes when he's not on the floor, and he also you know, can be a point guard that can make his team go. He's done a great job for the Cardinal.
Stanford has hit 7 trays this first half. They only average 8 made threes a game.
No, and that's something, you know, if you give them an opportunity, there's a reason why, too. Teams are taking that away because they're pretty good shooting teams sometimes, and so you don't get the looks when you're a good shooting team. But if you're Andy Enfield now and you're SMU, you've got to close this gap going into halftime. You'd like a little bit of momentum. You can cut this to single digits. You want that, and if you can just grab some momentum going in the locker room.
And the Enfield, Kyle Smith, keeping pace with each other, moving over from the old Pac-12. Kyle was at Washington State last year, Andy at USC. Harris sticks the straightaway 3.
Yeah, big-time shot again. You're SMU, and you've got the ability to Chucky Harris to knock that down. That's just what the doctor ordered. Now you're putting a little pressure on Stanford to score.
Harris, one of the top 3-point shooters in the country. A baseline finish.
He saw his opening, Chris, and he got there in a hurry. Big-time finish.
And a bounce displayed by Sellers this first half. Oquendo quiets the home crowd with a downtown hit.
Well, somebody forgot to tell SMU that to go away. They're not going away. They're answering shot for shot. So now if you're Stanford, you're going to probably play the entirety of this shot clock and leave SMU with a very short shot clock coming back. But you can pretty much rail this thing down and get the last shot before SMU comes back.
That make brings the Ponies back up to 50% from the field. Gaylor, heat check. Oh, it deadened off the back iron, almost rolled in. SMU can hold for the final take. Oquendo on the attack. And whistled for traveling before the attempt.
Well, obviously, if he jump stops, he's probably going to get a chance to draw a foul, but lost his footing. But we'll see when we come back. Stanford with the ball on the short clock. Reno doesn't know it's his ball. Well,
hey, the ACC women's basketball tournament is on the way. It's coming up from Greensboro, North Carolina. The Ally ACC women's basketball tournament. It begins this Wednesday. First and second round games, as well as 2 of the quarterfinal matchups right here on ACC Network. Final seconds of the first half, and Sellers put too much on the 3. And so Stanford 45 points on their home floor to take a 6-point lead to the locker room over SMU.
Now Stanford from 3, they've been solid. That's why they built this lead. Come back and watch us. We've got a good one.
This is the ACC Network. We are halfway home on the farm in Stanford, California. The Cardinal up 6 over the SMU Mustangs at the break. Glad you're with us this afternoon with the Wisconsin Badger and longtime college coach Ben Braun. I'm Chris Sylvester. Impressions of that first half, what stood out to you?
Well, this was a half of big runs, Chris. If you think about it, SMU goes on 2 runs, a 6-0 and an 8-0 run, and Stanford turns around, returns a favor. They go on a 9-0 run and a 7-0 run. So really both teams playing with a lot of streakiness, but I thought that both teams played aggressively. A lot of turnovers, but forced turnovers through great defense.
Both the Mustangs and Cardinal paced by a couple of seniors in that opening half. As we look at our experts at work, brought to you by Principal.
Yeah, I was really impressed. If you look at Maxime Reno, not that I'm always not impressed with him, he just finds a way. He takes his time, gets to the basket, he takes advantage, reads his defense really well, but he's able to score in so many different ways, interior, outside. But by the same token, you got to be impressed what Matt Cross did. I mean, he kept his team in the game the first half. He attacked the basket, attacked the rack, but he was able to knock down shots. He's got great range. He's a really good three-point shooter, 43 plus. So he helped his team. I think this half's going to be some adjustments by both teams, but if you're Stanford, you better keep your eyes on Matt Cross, and if you're SMU, you better find a few ways to get the ball out of Maxime Reno's hands and make somebody else beat you.
SMU closed that first half on a 9-2 stretch. See if the Mustangs can carry over some of that late opening 20 momentum to the start of this second half. A team that's lost just once all season in conference play on the road as Yigitolu gets hit, and free throws on the way for the 7-2 Frosh from Turkey.
Well, they did a good job of getting the ball inside. They were very patient. Stanford doing a good job on the ball screen defense, blowing up the screens, but then when the roll took place, it's hard to guard 7-2. So you've got to get an extra defender. Reno and Healer out on the ball, but somebody else got to slide in and try to bottle them up.
Yigitolu had missed the first couple games at the beginning of the season, waiting for NCAA clearance. Averaged a double-double while playing with a professional club back home in Turkey last year. Was a late add in Andy Enfield's first off-season with the Mustangs.
That's been his Achilles. He's struggled a little bit from the line, but, you know, he's a big player. You can run a lot of your things through him. He's tough.
Only 3 points so far for Yigitolu, who averages close to 11 a game. There's a foul on Yigitolu, trying to cross blades with Maxime Reno in the mid-post.
Well, I was talking to Coach Eric Reveno, the veteran coach from Stanford. He's asked him why he thought Maxime was so good, and he said he's been really coachable. He's worked hard on his position. He's made it tougher now to guard because he's holding his ground. He's using his lower body, not his upper body, to get open.
Chisamak Paro came off the bench that first half, starts the second on the floor, and Maxime Reno picks up where he left off.
Yeah, how about the no hesitation? You're a step late, Chris, and that's what he was defensively. SMU was. He just knocks it down. No hesitation for Maxime Reno.
Benny Giedler also out there for Stanford instead of Jalen Blakes. Yigitolu disrupted inside. Loose ball caroms back to him, and now Giedler whistled for a reach-in foul.
Well, that was a much better job, though, just the fact that it went inside again to the 7-footer. But Chisamak Paro was there on the catch to disrupt it and dislodge the ball, but Stanford ended up committing a foul nonetheless. But much better defense on the post interior.
Para exits. Aiden Kemen, the 6'10 forward, back in for Stanford. Edwards finds Cross in the corner. Going baseline. Reno disrupted the attempt. Igatola there for the loose change and the follow.
Well, he did a nice job. That was a great move by Cross. Reno rejected it, but ended up back in SMU's hands for 2.
Reno has 3 blocks here on senior day. B.J. Edwards, one of the best stealers in the country, and they will count that plus the foul.
Well, Kyle Smith does not like that call. He's saying there was a couple of steps right there. Holy smoke, but look at the block by Maxime Reno. He said, no, you're not coming in my house. But then there's obviously that putback, but here it is. There's the step through, 1, 2, come down. And, you know, I don't know about that one. You might have a case if you are Kyle Smith, but they did wave it off. Thank goodness. Justice prevails.
Maybe at the next level?
Yeah.
So no basket for Edwards, but he does have a takeaway. 20th in the country in steal percentage is B.J. Edwards, the junior from Knoxville, Tennessee. Cross backs in Sellers. Out to Oquendo. And a foul underneath. We'll keep it on this end with SMU.
Well, that's unfortunate for Stanford. That was a very good defensive possession for Stanford, other than the foul underneath the basket. You know, you really don't need to foul. Actually, it was a foul going against SMU. That's what I thought. And Andy Enfield thought it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I was confused, Chris.
So was I.
Yeah. Well, now Andy Enfield's turn to voice his opinion, and I think he'll get his 2 cents in here. But now they are, let's see, you know, they're going to say, we're going to stick with the call. Andy Enfield wants an explanation. Well, play on.
The first half had 6 ties, 7 lead changes. Stanford built a lead as large as 12 in the first half, but SMU was able to trim it down to 6 at the break. Josiah Sellers on a skip out to Reno. On the drive, has it slapped away. Shot clock down to 3. Sellers, and spins off.
Now, Maxime Reno thought there was some contact on that last play. Officials letting him play a little bit now.
Edwards along the end line, and he stepped out.
Well, I love that defensive, you know, action, because what you're doing, Chris, you trap the ball screens and you force baseline. Guess what? That's a triple team. You've got the 2 defenders and the baseline. I think that's sound defense. Both teams, by the way, exploiting this type of defense. But that's a really good strategy.
The 10th SMU turnover. Reno.
Oh, I love that action. High-low, impossible to guard. No help side. Kemen into Reno for the sure 2. Jump hook.
Game high 16 for the 2nd leading scorer in the ACC. Harris catches. Takes Sellers to the glass for 2.
How about that move by Chuck Harris? I mean, the show and go, the hesitation and go. You defend him on the perimeter, and he just attacks you at the rim.
5th-year senior with over 1,700 career points between time at Butler and at SMU. Colbert not happy with the last foul call. Kyle Smith's wondering why a technical wasn't given after Jalen Blakes was hit with one that first half.
Yeah, but look at that high-low right in there. There's no help side. I mean, you're caught in the inside, and I think that's great strategy to go to Maxime Reno in the high-low. I think what they're talking about on the sideline now is there was a reaction to that last play, and they said, look, our man gets a technical. How about their guy? Not a bad point.
Jalen Blakes, one of the 3 seniors on the Stanford roster, finally back on the floor.
Yeah, he's had quite some time off.
And now Reno tripped up. It's another foul on Colbert.
Well, that's tough, Chris. When you've been sitting on Jalen Blakes, have been sitting an awfully long time. And, you know, when you get the technical and you add to your foul total, players need to remember that. Tack's on an extra foul, but can Jalen Blakes get back in the rhythm of this game? And he's been sitting an awfully long time.
Lakes is third on the team in scoring. Reno misfires from the baseline. Here comes Chuck Harris and SMU. Cross underneath. Hammond rips it away. Agarwal, high lob, low post.
Great look by Ryan Agarwal. He waited. He read the defense. Who's fronting? Maxime Reno goes over the top for the delivery.
He's got 18. Edwards entry pass. Oquendo recovers it. Chuck Harris blocked by Hammond.
Stanford really on top of their game defensively, Chris. They're everywhere.
Agarwal trying to feed Reno again. This time the entry pass intercepted. Harris going coast to coast. And deflected out by Stanford. SMU will have it on the other side, but the Cardinals have built this lead back to 8.
You like Maxime Reno? Well, don't front him because he'll drop you off and flush it on you for 2.
SMU trying to stay in the at-large discussion should the Mustangs not win the upcoming ACC tournament. And it's been a tough couple of weeks without their leading scorer and assist man, Boopy Miller.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you know, he's a tremendous player. He's had a great year. The Chicago native, my hometown. Big Boopy Miller fan. But he's been missing. And what do you do when you're missing your leader? You're missing his assist. He's almost a 3 or 4 to 1 assist to turnover guy. He's averaging 14 points and shoots it from 3. He can get to the foul line, ice games, end of the game, and he's pretty good at steals. He's got a little under 2 steals a game.
Andy Enfield talks about how much different this SMU team is with the services of Boopy Miller as Johan Traore is hit on the way up. Miller had a double-double against Stanford when these teams met a month ago in Dallas at 10 points, 10 assists.
Yeah, and we'll look at the difference it made, Chris. I mean, that was a big-time win and a decisive win with Boopy Miller in the lineup. And you're trying to, the good news is for SMU, he'll be back. So you want to bide some time. But they're a different team. When they've got him, they are that much better, and they're already pretty good. They've been competitive in this game, and they compete. They get after you. And they've got great balance, but you want to get your leader back. And Andy Enfield would love nothing more than getting his player back, his junior back for action.
Mustangs hope to get Miller back as quickly as Tuesday's regular season home finale against Syracuse. Hey, the Nothing But Net crew will be in Greensboro for the Ally ACC Women's Tournament starting on the ACC Network. They'll have pregame, halftime, and postgame analysis throughout the tournament. Big shakeup of late on the women's side with Notre Dame losing their last 2 games, allowing NC State to jump to the top of the ACC standings.
You never know what's going to happen down the stretch of the year, and that's why this game is so big, because this has NCAA implications, and you want to make sure that you want to be on the inside, not the outside.
Oh, dangerous pass, and SMU picks it off.
Yeah, it was lazy. That was a really nonchalant pass. No need for that. Wasn't that much pressure on you.
Oquendo to the block for Cross. Dispossessed and picked up by SMU. Harris stepping inside. Lobs it for Traore, and 2 more free throws for the big fella.
Well, I'm so impressed with SMU's athleticism, Chris. They make it tough on you, and they're quick to the ball. They get to a lot of the 50-50 balls. You heard about coaches talking 50-50 balls, but it favors the team that's going to win. Usually gets most of them, and SMU's really quick to the basketball.
Traore spent his freshman season under Bruce Pearl at Auburn. Was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. All Big West honorable mention at UC Santa Barbara last season. Has provided some valuable bench minutes in this game for Andy Enfield.
Well, here's a full court press. You see SMU had some success the last time. Stanford got very careless with the basketball, but they're going to try to employ this press again, see if they can turn over Stanford again.
All 7 second-half points for Stanford, courtesy of Maxime Reynaud, who leads all scorers with 18 in this game. Shot clock into single digits. Gieler had 3 triples that first half. Akpara.
How about that shot at the end of the shot clock as the shot clock is winding down, about to go off?
Edwards off the heel. And last touched by Cross.
Well, I really like this. This is great action by Stanford. I mean, you get down the shot clock, there's 2 seconds to go, and I thought SMU did a great job full court pressing back to their defense and only having Stanford play on a short clock, but they managed to beat the clock.
9 trays for Stanford this afternoon. Sellers. Is the layup outside Maples Pavilion.
Oziah Sellers with the drive, and it finished to his teammate Maxime Reynaud.
A 20-piece for Reynaud. 17th time this season he's reached 20 points. Harris zigzags and kicks. Stanford relentless on this end. Down to 5 on the timer, and Gieler caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah, that's a tough foul, Chris, because as you said, you were just saying, describing the action, I mean, they're playing great defense. This is one of the better defensive games Stanford's played, but they had a brilliant game last game against Boston College, but they're playing really good defense, and what do? You foul with 5 seconds to go on the clock. You just got to stay disciplined through the clock. Make your opponents make the mistake or take an ill-advised shot or a challenge shot.
Ryan Agarwal checks back in for Benny Gieler. Stanford has stretched this lead back to double figures with 13:20 to play. Edwards around the high screen. Harris has to launch. Traore, another offensive rebound. Beautiful pass as Harris found Cross for 2.
That's why second shots are backbreakers, Chris. You do a good job in defensive rebound. Now it's Stanford trying to expand a double-digit lead. Now it's down to single digits. Now the pressure's back on Stanford.
SMU has 13 second chance points in this game. Reynaud has it knocked loose. Mustangs on a fast break, and Edwards lays it in.
Now don't look now. You've got a 2-possession game just like that. SMU won't quit. They'll not go away. They defend you, they scrap, and they are playing without their leader, Boopy Miller. They're playing a heck of a basketball game.
4 more steals for B.J. Edwards, 2 shy of 70 on the season.
Well, SMU is in the zone, Chris. They're in the zone defense.
And they create another takeaway. It's Edwards leading the fast break again. Traore crashing to the glass and draws another foul. It's on Maxime Reynaud. No, they say Akpara, who is also in the vicinity. It was Reynaud with the reaction, but Akpara's handed the personal foul.
Well, yeah. Let's look at the break. Here's the steal on the one end and the fast break on the other. You can see transition basketball, SMU's best friend. They really are great in transition.
Well, SMU, a top 10 free throw percentage team in the country. They have worked into the bonus with 12 minutes to play here in the second half. That last foul was in the act of shooting, so 2 for Traore, who's got all of his points at the free throw line today.
Yeah, and you can see the balance of SMU, Chris. Again, we mentioned with Miller out, where are they going to get their points? But they get them. They get great balance, and it doesn't really slow them down defensively. Even though Miller's a great defender, this team is putting a lot of pressure on Stanford. Stanford's done a good job up until now, handling it until just the last couple of possessions have been a little sloppy and careless, and SMU's taken advantage of it.
Johan Traore, 7 for 8 at the free throw line. Back to a 4-point game.
They're playing the zone. Now SMU's back to the zone. They're going to match up, and they're going to play the zone. Andy Enfield talked to us before the game, said he'll play some zone if he has to.
Akpara couldn't quite muscle it in. Kamen has it on the floor. A lot of contact, and Stanford unable to hoist one up in time. It's a shot clock turnover.
Andy Enfeld's going to talk about it. His team is handling it. They're back within 4.
Tonight we'll debut our documentary about the 91-92 Duke men's basketball team, the first back-to-back national champ since the UCLA dynasty. Coach K, Christian Laettner, and many more were interviewed for the one-hour special that premieres tonight right here on the ACC network. That'll be on the heels of second-ranked Duke hosting Florida State after this one. Tight one on the farm, Coach. SMU's defense has trimmed what was a double-figure Stanford lead back down to 4.
Well, they averaged 8 steals on the year, and they've already got 7. B.J. Edwards was horrible. So that's been a big turnaround on their defense.
Stanford has given it away 6 times since the halftime break.
Stanford in the zone, Chris. They've gone out into the zone.
Late whistle for a foul after Jalen Blakes thought he had a clean takeaway.
And I think if you're Kyle Smith, you might talk about that. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good play. Might have a point. I mean, I like the defensive change up to the zone and looked like it created a turnover right off the bat.
It's the 8th against Stanford this half, so Tibet Goriner, who's only taken 4 free throws all season, will toe the line for the 1-and-1 here.
So that's a big call. Right? Instead of going the other way, you got a foul call.
Misses the front end, but it ricochets back to Harris. Oquendo drives. Count it! 2+1 for Cario Oquendo.
Aiden Kemman had a chance to secure that rebound. Didn't get 2 hands on it. Went through his hands and right into the hands of SMU, and they capitalized.
SMU is now plus 13 in second chance points.
Well, that's a tough stat if you're Stanford. You're giving the ball back to SMU, but you're not giving it away as much as SMU's going out and taking it. This has been a heck of a half for SMU defensively.
9 straight for the Ponies on the farm.
Yeah, the pressure is really wearing down Stanford, and Stanford's got to do a better job of handling it. But now they've got Jalen Blakes back on the bench, Chris. Keep your eye on that, because they have to play without their floor general and best ball handler.
Agarwal lets it fly. Reno taps it out. A second effort for the Cardinal.
Zone defense still being employed by SMU.
Agarwal has it knocked out of his hands with 13 on the timer. Cardinal haven't scored in more than 3 minutes here, Ben.
No, and the SMU is going to the zone's a good call. You're going to then keep it out of Maxime Reno's hands. Make somebody else beat you.
Reno. 3 to shoot. Southpaw flip comes up short.
Yeah, you can see Stanford's out of rhythm offensively, Chris. They have not been in the same rhythm that they were in the first half.
Harris leans in. More free throws for the Mustangs.
Yeah, again, Kyle Smith not happy. Benny Gieler not happy with the minimal contact and the foul call. I think what officials want, what coaches want, Chris, more than anything is they're okay with that call on this end if it goes back the other way on the other. And I feel that Kyle Smith is making that point, like it hasn't gone both ways. And as a coach, I know the feeling. It's you'll live with any call that's made as long as it's being evened up.
Jalen Blakes, after a short rest, comes back for Stanford.
Yeah, you can't let him sit too long because this game, can turn around in a hurry. So you got to put Jalen back on the floor. I think that's a good move. You take the chances. But Stanford's got to do a better job now against handling pressure and getting a good look, because they got a lot of good looks in the first half. They're struggling to get those same looks this half.
11 straight for the Mustangs to take their first second half lead.
Yeah, 2-3 zone. They're playing high in the wings.
Blakes, the zone buster, but he comes up short. Numbers for SMU. Oquendo, a finger roll finish. And a timeout, Kyle Smith. SMU 13 straight. to take a 3-point lead at Stanford.
You said this is a game of runs, and it is a game of runs. SMU with a 13-0 run. Going out, getting the lead. They're up by 3.
Second half action in the ACC and on the farm in the midst of an SMU flurry. 13 straight for the Mustangs to take their first lead in the second half here.
Well, you know, Chris, there's good turnovers and bad turnovers. Unfortunately, and what are bad turnovers? Turnovers at number 1 are unforced, and number 2, they lead to baskets, and that's what's happened. The turnovers have plagued Stanford in both those regards.
SMU has outscored Stanford 21-12 coming out of halftime.
There's the defense again, zone defense. And the infield's going to stay with the zone defense. It's been very effective.
Oh, Reynolds automatic from that mid-post spot.
Well, that's a great look. I mean, that's a great adjustment timeout. Timeout by Cal Smith. He said, look, let's get in the high post. Jalen Blakes was there the last possession, but he put his big fella in there, and he knew exactly what to do. Drained it.
First points in over 3 minutes for Stanford. Quendo on a bounce. Traore fouled again. Free throw attempts 9 and 10 on the way for Johan Traore, who has come off the bench and does not have an official field goal attempt in this game because every time he's triggered it up, he's been hit.
No, and that's what he does. He gets the ball to the basket, but that's probably a good foul for Stanford. He's going to get a layup, so you make him shoot free throws. But how about the discrepancy, and I call it a discrepancy, but it's really, I think, indicative of the game, Chris. You've got SMU now that's going to the line for the 13th time, and you've got Stanford that hasn't been there this half. And so I think that's important. If you're Stanford, you've got to try to get back to the line and keep your opponents off the line.
Well, how about the free throw difference for the game? 20 attempts for SMU, just 2 for Stanford.
Well, that's what SMU does. They try to get to the foul line. And even Cal Smith says, we got to get to the line more. So he knows his team, needs to get there more, and they're trying. But this zone defense has bothered Stanford. They've done a nice job of keeping Stanford on the perimeter and not letting Maxime Reynaud get the flow.
Deep one for Agarwal. Blakes soars in. Second chance for Stanford. Blakes, corner pop. And Traore swings around the elbows and secures the miss. A high lob, Matt Cross. More free throws for SMU.
Well, Cross did a good job of, number 1, catching the ball, and number 2, drawing a foul. Great job of patience. Waited for the defender to come down and waited for him to get a piece of him. But, the free throw differential, Chris, has been monumental this game because Stanford has not gotten the line, and SMU's making a living there. They're continuing to attack the basket. Many of those attacks in transition off turnovers.
Coming up next, Cooper Flag, number 2 Duke, welcome in Florida State at Cameron Indoor. We'll have it for you here, 7 p.m. Eastern on the ACC Network and the ESPN app.
Well, if you're Stanford, you've got to get going now on the other end because you've been really stymied, but you've got to get your shooters. Agarwal, obviously Osiah Sellers, they've got to knock some shots down to open up this zone a little bit, get the zone to come out and guard, give Maxime Reynaud some room to operate.
Do you feel like Stanford needs to be more physical here down the stretch?
I think so. Sometimes when you're playing against the zone, Chris, there's a misnomer. You say, well, I got to take outside shots. And there's really confusion in the zone. You can get to the line, you can split the defenders, and you can get to the rim. So I think they still got to continue to attack and try to get to the foul line against the zone.
Stanford only has 2 free throw attempts on the night. They're the top free throw shooting team in the ACC. Akpara throws it to the second row.
Well, and that's the right look, though, Chris, in terms of getting the ball in the middle to Akpara. He just forgot to square up. He didn't really square his body up. If he had done that, he could have taken the ball to the basket, gone high-low, or made that same pass. Problem was his feet were facing the 10-second line, and so he never squared up. But that's what the zone does. It backs you up, it gets you a little tentative, and you got to be just aggressive and fundamental against it.
Stanford's now given it away 12 times in this game. Good chunk of those here in the second half. Quendo spins around on Sellers, and it rolls in.
Well, I don't know how he got the ball up and over Isaiah Sellers. He was defended pretty well, but he just managed to bully ball it up over the top and through.
Well, Quendo's been in double figures now, 7 of his last 8. Knocked away from Kamen, but a late whistle, a foul on SMU.
Well, they're going to get Benny Geeler back in the game for some shooting, but you like the Quendo and his ability to get into the paint and just go up over the top of Isaiah Sellers. That's strong. That's action.
Bubble implications on the farm this afternoon. SMU 42nd in the net. Lenardi has them in the next 4 out. This is a quad 2 opportunity for a Mustang team that is without a quad 1 victory. They might not have another quad 1 opportunity until the ACC tournament, but it's important for them to win out with this regular season schedule to really have a chance 15 days from now on Selection Sunday.
Well, they've got a couple of tough ones coming up, and not that you want to look past to those games. So you've got to get, you're as good as your last game. You've got to get this one, knock this one off, and then worry about those other games later. But they're playing with some urgency, especially in the second half.
And the Enfield's team 25-14 over Stanford since the break. Benny Geeler back on the floor with 4 fouls. Shot clock's down to 5. Reno lets it fly. Last touch by SMU.
Well, SMU switched up, went back man-to-man, but they did a good job of trying to get it out of Maxime Reno's hand. But then they got down to a short clock and were very fortunate they keep the ball alive. Didn't get a good look.
Stanford's only scored 2 points the last 6 minutes, and Akbara reached in on and fouled.
Well, that's what Stanford needs to do, Chris. They need to get aggressive and attack the basket and switch the table a little bit here. Get to the foul line and get the bonus.
Chuck Harris may have been hit on the side of the neck there as Cross re-enters for Andy Enfield. Maybe the right ear of Chuck Harris. I mean, Akbara's not a little guy. It's like a freight train running at you at full speed.
Well, he's strong. Reno's working really hard for position underneath.
The turnaround right-hand shot over the top of Traore.
And he was rewarded. Stanford found their teammate. Boy, he was working hard for position. It's good to see his teammates give him a look. Now Stanford's got to play some defense, Chris.
Mom loves it. He's got 24 to lead all scores. Stanford back within 3. Edwards spinning. Gets it back from Cross. Working on Geeler with his 4 fouls. SMU turns it over. Last touch by Traore. Big stop for the Cardinals.
Yeah, how about the Cardinals playing some defense of their own? They're switching up. It's SMU Mustangs with the momentum defensively. Now Stanford with a big-time stop. Full court pressure still being employed by SMU. Maybe not so much for a steal, but to try to get a shorter clock on the Cardinal.
Geeler floats it across the floor. Isaiah Sellers. 6 minutes to play in Stanford.
Yeah, zone defense back in play here.
Akbara out to Geeler. Deep 3.
Can you say Benny Geeler from 3? It's his 4th triple of the game.
Big shot, Benny. 64 is on the board. Cross lobs it inside. It bounces off for Traore, but he stays with it.
Great second effort.
And more second chance points for SMU.
That's just a big-time play. You thought Stanford had him stopped, but Traore never gave up on that play. And you see SMU now trying to go back to their zone. They're going to stick in the 2-3. They had some success there.
Here comes Akbara. Out to Sellers. One more. Geeler. It's Benny in the trees. Stanford by 1 inside of 5 minutes.
gotta love it, Chris. He came to play today.
5 triples for the former walk-on. He has reignited Maples Pavilion. That cross into his bag of tricks. Off the side of the rim. Benny might just pull one from here.
Well, he may have a heat check, but he's capable, Chris.
Reno faces up. Attacks Traore. Ties, 9 lead changes between the Mustangs and Cardinal as we stroll inside of 4 minutes. Good crowd on hand for Senior Day. Harris across the floor. Cross. Extra pass Oquendo. Late in the clock. It's Harris. Step back. Book it.
He's so good from there. Chris, he just knocks down shots. He's so steady, Chuck Harris, from the mid-range shot. Not much you can do. He gets over the top of you and shoots it with a lot of calmness, poise.
SMU back in front. Gaylor glides. It's Benny's world. We're all just paying rent.
Benny and the Jets. That was quick. That was a big-time move and causing SMU to burn a timeout to talk about it.
Benny Gaylor has taken over down the stretch, and Stanford has a 1-point lead with 3:09 to play. Fun finish in store from the farm. Well, a full house back there in Charlotte. Taylor, thank you. Kind of feels like a full house at Maples right now with the way this crowd has gotten back into
Well,
it.
you know, this game, which has NCAA tournament implications, feels like an NCAA tournament game. These two teams are going after it.
Well, you know what we can finally say? This is March.
This is March Madness. And I've been in the NCAA tournaments, Chris, and this has that flavor. Trust me, these teams can smell it. They want to get in the tournament, whether by at-large or entry, but they're playing at that level right now.
8 ties, 11 lead changes, and perhaps more to come here down the stretch from Maples Pavilion. Harris around the Yigatolu screen to the baseline, and he comes up short. Cross had it for a moment, but it ricochets to Reno.
Well, Stanford's done a good job of cutting down their turnovers, and if they continue to do that, they'll put themselves in position to win this game, but they've really struggled against the SMU defense, but lately they've done a really good job of not turning it over.
Benny Gaylor has galvanized Stanford down the stretch. Reno still leads everybody with 24 points. Backing in the 7-2 center across the floor. Sellers catches, baseline in the air. It's good.
A nice job by Isaiah Sellers spotting up, and Maxime Reno finds his teammate. He's done that all year. Great passer out of the double.
Stanford by 3. Chuck Harris at the peak of the three-point line. Edwards knifes in, falling away. It bounces off. Sellers claims it.
B.J. Edwards had a really good look to the basket, just left it a little bit short.
Some extracurriculars between Yigatolu and Reno
after
the missed shot, and the officials will stop play to look at it.
Yeah, they want to look at this, and you know, I really commend the officials. They could let some of this go, Chris, but you don't want to let it go because A, players can get injured, and B, this gives an advantage to one team, so you want to nip this in the bud. So they'll go immediately to the monitor and do the officials coming over to talk to us right now about it.
As we suspected, they're looking at the contact away from the basketball between the two big men. Samet Yigatolu for SMU, Maxime Reno for Stanford.
Well, I like the football image you just did there, Chris. You put the microphone right up to the officials and you let our viewers look at it. Look at
Very quick.
yeah, they nipped in the bud, but
Nothing extracurricular.
no, but I like that officials do that. I like that they come over and inform us, or either go on the PA and do it, because I think people need to know.
And you have to give them kudos when they take care of it that quickly.
Yeah, no, they did it, and they nipped the bud. Here you can see it here.
They know Cooper Flagg's coming up next.
Yeah. Well, there was the play. I don't think there was anything there. And again, it's not always intention. You hit somebody in the head area, Chris. It doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. You call it. But they said, look, there's nothing there. There was no contact to the head or the face, so we play on. Now, if you're Stanford, you're in a position to pull ahead here. You fought so hard to come back after you were ahead early by double digits. Now they're in a position to pull ahead themselves.
Stanford 15-2 on their home floor. This is the regular season home finale for the Cardinal. Agarwal barreling in, and a tough shot taken by Yigatolu inside.
He was trying to draw the foul, didn't get it, and ended up putting up a rush shot.
SMU secures a key stop. Yigatolu lost the handle. Oh, a critical turnover late.
Well, Maxime Reynaud's talking to his teammates, saying, great help. You were there with me. You didn't leave me on an island. I love it. Now, if again, here's a replay. Look at the help. You got Agarwal in there just making him think about it, turning them back to the middle. That's great help defensively. Now you're Stanford. You must continue to take care of the basketball. You're going to get pressed.
"65 seconds to play on the farm.
Yeah, no hurry if you're Stanford.
Corner pop, Agarwal off the front rim. Cross has it. Here's Chuck Harris. 3 for the tie. Off the heel. Edwards, the second effort. Floater bounces off. A pair of misses. 8 seconds separate the shot clock and the game clock. Would you foul here if you were SMU?
Yeah, it's really tough to run it down when you're down 3. They're probably going to have to play a game and get a little more time possession, but now it's down to 10. Probably going to let it go now. It's kind of late to put the foul. The foul had to be earlier.
Gaylor with 3 to shoot. Agarwal, dagger. Maxime, you are magnificent. A senior day slam.
Every night should be senior night, according to Maxime Reynaud. Can you believe it?
Back on the farm, 8.7 on the second half clock. The Cardinal have come on back here in the final minutes. 6 straight for Stanford, and the parents of the senior, Maxime Reynaud, playing his final game in this building. They can barely handle these final moments.
Now, they're so emotional. We've spent time. I've gotten to know the Reynauds pretty well, and they're just so proud. But they're rooting for the team. They're rooting for their university, but they're happy for their son. Make no mistake about it. I mean, that's emotional. But how about the play that put this crowd and maybe this game out of the over the top? The dunk by Reynaud. I mean, just you couldn't ask for a better script for him to come back on senior day and just put an exclamation mark on this game. Not much you can do now if you're SMU.
He is tonight's player of the game, brought to you by Applebee's.
Even with a quick score here, and it's got to be quick, it's going to be tough for SMU to get back in this one. You don't want to foul, though. Stop the clock if you're Stanford.
Edwards taking too much time. It's going to run out on SMU. Stanford on senior day. 73-68 over SMU. Maxime Reynaud leaves a finishing touch on Maples Pavilion.
What a great finish for Stanford. SMU races out.
Holding his mother, Vanessa.
Well, that's love. A boy's best friend is his mother. I've said it before. But hey, what a great run by Stanford. They withstood the 13-0 run by SMU that went ahead and looked like they were going to pull away, only to see Stanford come back and gut this one out.
Stanford Stanford wins on Senior Day and delivers a big blow to SMU's March Madness hopes. 73-68 the final. For the coach Ben Brown, I'm Chris Sylvester. Let's get you to Cameron Indoor for the Seminoles and #2 Duke.